Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. My name is Ian Utile. I am here with Malachi, Dan, Nigel, and Ted. We are here at 1340 AM KOMY, the home of Schoolhouse Radio. And today's topic, gentlemen, is education, entrepreneurship, and apprenticeship. So all the things that help people learn, but not just for students, for teachers as well. How is this technology impacting both teachers and students? So Malachi, you just started school last week.
I did, and I am loving it. It has been fantastical. I cannot say enough good stuff about Oasis as a school system.
Well, tell us about it. This is local radio, even for the folks that are watching or listening to us on Instagram and X and YouTube, LinkedIn and Facebook. They might be local. So tell us about Oasis.
I mean, everybody has gone to some sort of school, at least the people who live here in America. Almost all of us have gone to school at some point or another. And we can all agree that it was kind of you sit down in class, you listen to your teacher, maybe you learn something, but probably half of the time in that class, you're just there. And it's not time that you thought was enormously valuable to you. But the school system that I have just recently taken up is called independent studies, where you're allowed to just get the work and do it on your own. And in some ways, it can promote laziness by letting kids just get the work done and then just go off and play games or something. But it gives this unique advantage if you want to learn. I mean, education is something that has only been like an upper class level thing for so long in humanity. And now we all get to learn. Like, it's amazing. And I want to treat it as if it's still something that is enormously valuable, because it should be. Just like how Nigel has said before, just because you went from having a shovel to a cap machine doesn't mean that now you should still only dig as many holes. No, you should be able to dig so many more holes. And so it shouldn't be about, okay, well, I have this, so I guess education just isn't as serious anymore. No, it should be, okay, now that I have this, education should be just as serious, and I should be able to transform myself with it. And that's why I've loved Oasis so much. It gives me the chance to learn things, and if I don't like the school curriculum, which sometimes I don't, honestly, most of the time, it's not very fun. But this gives me the chance and the time and the availability to just go off and learn whatever I want. And now that I have something like AI, it makes it so I'm able to do that really, really efficiently. And I mean, YouTube is such an amazing thing. The fact that now anyone can post things that they want, pretty much anyone, and now you're able to just have that information online. And a lot of it is really entertaining. Like, there's this YouTube channel called Crash Course that I think even in my school years, for like elementary and middle school, they'd constantly show us Crash Course videos. It's like they're almost endorsed in schools now. And they're super entertaining. And they also are very historically accurate and are able to show the real-time information that's like important. And so that's something I can immediately go to. And that's just one channel out of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of genuinely educational channels. And the world that I live in now, I have this unique opportunity to take the things that I am given, take the cat machine, to stick with the example, and throw the shovel away and just try and dig as many holes as I possibly can.
Gentlemen, jump in. Let's have a conversation with Malachi as we're talking about his school, and obviously today's topic is education and apprenticeship. So anything around schools, students, teachers, etc. Go ahead.
Well, I love that. I love that example, number one. And I think one of the big things that really makes that important is us taking responsibility for things that fall squarely on our shoulders. And whether it be education or our healthcare or anything we're trying to excel at, I think it falls on us. Teachers get paid. You know, mentors get paid. Where you go to shop for things that affect your life, they get paid. And it's a job for them. And I'm not saying that people don't take their job seriously, but it's still your responsibility. Like, your health is your responsibility. Your education is your responsibility. And I think that what Malachi was saying, what I got from that is that he's taking the bull by the horns and making sure that he gets the best out of what is happening there. What I would love to see more of is, as people are creating this content and doing these amazing things, they share more of the behind the scenes and what it actually takes to actually do some of these things. Because people are doing some pretty amazing things, but they have a passion for it. And, you know, they're committed enough to go through the work, but you don't always see the work. You see the end result. And sometimes that gives people a skewed or false sense of what it takes to get to where, you know, where these folks have graduated to. They don't see the bumps and bruises. Like, I always think back to my, you know, love of hip hop and seeing how, you know, the rappers in the videos, they had the gold chains and the fancy cars and the hot, you know, people around them, you know, fancy vacations, boats, all sorts of things. But they never really showed so much of work. You know, sitting in the studio for long hours, you know, hotel rooms all around the world when they're out touring. You don't see that. And I think that's an important component. So what I encourage people to do in their educational journey is to ask the questions of people. Like, instead of, you know, maybe focusing on something, oh, cool, or getting some clout off of talking to somebody, say, what is it that you're doing that I don't see? What are the hardships that I don't see that I need to be more prepared for? Because I think that when you manage your expectations by understanding what's happening, you just go further.
Yeah, I think that ties so closely into that frequently heard saying about how it's not really as much about the goal, but it's more about the journey of how you get there. Because if you get some massive goal that you've just achieved, yay, good for you. But the part that causes you to learn something is how you got to get to that goal, because that's really what matters. And talking to really every person right now, if you're a student, start thinking about how you can use AI to be able to actually care about education and actually learn things and use your time efficiently. If you're a parent, think about how maybe you could use these things to help your kid. If you're a grandparent, think about how you could use these things to help your grandchildren or anyone you know, because these things are not just going to progress themselves. Because we already have this massive hype over it, it's going to keep getting bigger, but it doesn't mean that you're going to learn how to use it. And so that means that people themselves need to decide, okay, this is something that's obviously really useful. I should try and learn to use it. And it doesn't mean that you're immediately going to get to the goal. It doesn't mean you're immediately going to know how to create good conversations with AI. But it doesn't mean there's not resources out there on how to do that. There's plenty of resources on how to actually talk with AI. Like, people, very smart people have created good resources to get these things done efficiently and correctly and in ways that are going to be as factual as possible. So just take it by the horns now while you can, because soon it's going to be a little bit harder to.
Maybe.
Or maybe it'll be easier.
Maybe.
I mean, I think what's
being free forever.
We'll see where that where that lands. You know, like, it's free now, and there was a period where lots of things on the internet were free that aren't free anymore. But we're not even talking about that, because the bleeding edge is very accessible. And I think if we look forward, you know, they have to figure out a way to monetize it, but I think they're being very creative in how they monetize this, and it might not necessarily be the old way. I mean, I think you'd be more cautious of when it is free. I mean, that's how social media came to really bite us in the backside. Is, you know, we all assumed it's free. We got used to that, and it turns out they're exploiting us for our data, and there's lots of negative implications for that. So, you know, maybe we should be more cautious of it when it's free and want to pay for it, but that's a different discussion.
Well, what currency was it free in? It might have been free in liquid money, like the US dollar, but that doesn't mean it was free in attention. They were constantly showing you advertisements. That's completely and utterly wasting your attention. Doesn't mean it was free in data, like you were saying. They're also stealing your data. So I think it's just them trying to find out the different ways that they can make it so it's not free, but that you don't really
But
realize.
I definitely agree with your point that now's the time to jump in and be an early adapter. And I mean, for me, for education, I think it's important if we shift the paradigm and really see these are incredible tools for educators. But if educators have whether those educators are teachers or employers or parents, like I see many ways is that Ian is leveraging these tools by putting you in this environment. As he, ultimately Ian is your dad, and he takes that very seriously in the sense that he's your primary educator, and he's leveraging these tools to inspire you. I saw something last night. Stephen Covey, the famous 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person, his latest book, it's not super new, but it came out in like 2023. It's called Trust and Inspire, and it's about leadership. And his thesis is that the world has completely changed, but our leadership style, by and large, is still under an industrial age. I think he describes the terms he uses as command and control, where it's very, top down, hierarchical, and it's all about coordinating efforts, command and control. And the world's evolved, and that world doesn't exist anymore where that was effective, if that ever was effective. And now we need a new style of leadership, which has to do with trust and what's it called? Trust and inspire. It's all about empowering others to fulfill their potential. But one of the things he brought up is how rapidly human knowledge is increasing. And it took, like thousands of years for humanity to double their knowledge. And then it went down to within 100 years, we doubled our knowledge. And the stat that he cited was that now we double our knowledge every 12 days, humanity's knowledge. That's just fascinating. And if we then look at AI, not as necessarily the new humans that are super smart, that are discovering all this stuff and they're going to replace humans, and instead see it as AI is just the fastest way for us and most efficient way for us to access this knowledge that humans have created. That's the paradigm we need to have.
I'm going to share a few past things that have happened with all things automation and how they've impacted education, apprenticeship. I'm going to start with the radio. So we're going to go back 100 years. Not a lot of people talk about this, but I was just looking at this in, it was an article called The Evolution of Educational Technology from Blackboards to AI. So what it says is that during the 1920s and 30s, 100 years ago, the radio was used as a form of apprenticeship. So radio broadcasts would train different people in different types of trades. So it was a precursor to decentralized learning. And this allowed waves of knowledge to hit the air and allow people to learn different things. Now, in a sense, today, what Beachside Tech Talk is on episode 42 is an apprenticeship program, right? We are basically providing knowledge, the 5 of us, in a format that allows a brand new person that's never heard of any of this stuff to kind of get their feet wet, and allows one of our peers that is building technology in one or more of these industries to learn stuff that's happening right here and now. So I do see that even 100 years later, the radio is still a useful tool to train people. And you think about, will people talk about AI, like old LLM, chatbot AI, like the radio in 100 years, right? Because we'll have brain interfaces or something silly like that. Let's go back 50 years. 50 years ago, the Homebrew Computer Club started, and this was in Menlo Park. It allowed people like Steve Jobs and Wozniak to basically swap secrets, and ultimately led to the dawn of the personal computer revolution. Now, ultimately, it was just a bunch of young people in there teaching each other. They were each other's apprentice. That's what was going on, right? And so that's 50 years ago. It's so wild to think that was 50 years ago when that was going on. And here we are in 2025. Let me take us a bit closer to today. 35 years ago, the University of Phoenix was effective in putting degree programs online. This was unheard of. Everyone figured you have to go to Columbia, you have to go to Yale, Harvard, or even just your small, UC here in California. You got to go to Berkeley or go to UCSC or USC, whatever it may be. You got to go to a physical college to get an education. And certainly there was an advantage to going to a physical college in that you'd build a network of friends and people that you could work with ongoing. But things definitely took a major shift forward 35 years ago when University of Phoenix became effective. Next thing you know, you have Grand Canyon University. I helped a team that launched Bethel Tech, which was to train people in a short 9-month program and how to become a programmer. Same time, the same curriculum was being used for WazU, Steve Wozniak's alternative to Grand Canyon University. Of course, we see things like Creative Live, over 10 million learners. You see things like Coursera, over 10 million people learning classes through Coursera. And the list goes on and on and on. There's been so much that has happened recently and over the last 100 years that have completely changed the way that teachers and students think through the process of, knowledge transfer. So I want to mention a few of those things because this is kind of our past segment. Anything stand out to you guys when you think about University of Phoenix bringing degrees online? When you think about the peers sharing ideas as geeks, and that all of a sudden starts the revolution of personal computers, or even going way back to the radio, what we're doing today, being used to train people and to apprentice people. Does that spark any thoughts of other past things or just insights that you'd like to share on that regard?
Well, it sparks the whole idea of going back to the printing press that allowed us to spread ideas in a whole nother way. That was like the precursor to radio.
I think about something that a saying that we have in Trinidad, a 6 for a 9. And while I believe that online education works, I mean, YouTube is a perfect example of that. Ultimately, people learn the way they like to learn. And they're going to move faster when they're in an environment that supports the way they learn as much as what they learn. Where I feel like it becomes a concern, or has been a concern, is when the ulterior motives don't match the stated goal. So if it's a financial interest on student loans that can't be dissolved during bankruptcy or worked out, not that that should be the goal, then it's not so much an advantage in terms of the education. If those educational degrees don't translate into jobs, into usable skills, then not so much. But you think about something like a coding boot camp, where you take real active practitioners of a craft, demonstrating and showing and modeling how to do something, and then people moving right into those positions at significant salaries immediately. You can see the true advantage of it. And maybe measuring the two on some foundational metric will start for us to weed out the ones that are noble of intent, useful, and the ones that are not so much, not helpful.
I had just mentioned Coursera. It turns out Coursera has surpassed 100 million people on their platform learning. It all started off when those two Stanford professors opened up their course free online. I think one got 32,000, another got 35,000 students that signed up. And now here we are, in a completely different world when it comes to education.
You talking about Coursera right now, it just brings up the thought about Khan Academy. They've been around since 2008, and they're so unique because they they personalize their learning by making adaptive exercises, and they almost gamified their whole ecosystem. They're a lot like Coursera. I mean, they have done so much. Just in this last year, I had a class that I was only able to like be there present in the class for one of the semesters. And so I had already signed up for the AP class, so I already had signed up for the AP exam. It was AP statistics, just to give the context. And I did not know what to do. I'm like, shoot, man, like I need to learn this second semester because I don't want to just bomb the entire test. And so I go on and I am trying to look up what I can do. I went through a bunch of different YouTube videos. I tried to talk to AI. I learned somewhat, but I didn't really master how to talk to AI at that point. I still haven't. I don't think it's possible to master it. But I saw that Khan Academy is a good way to learn. And I'm like, okay, I've used that before in school briefly. I might as well try it. And so I went on there and I went through the entire curriculum and I learned. And I was able to do pretty well on the AP exam. And it just shows that this didn't cost me any money. I was able to do completely for free. If it costed me anything, I could say it costed me time. But it was so much more valuable than me spending a bunch of time trying to go to class over and over again, mess around, or whatever dumbness happens in a school class. But this let me just lock in, use my time efficiently. And it's not like the only way you can educate yourself is through AI. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that AI is really useful in trying to educate yourself. You can use AI, you can use Khan Academy, you could use Coursera, or you could use a mix of all three. I mean, Khan Academy and Coursera both use AI in their own different ways. But it's just amazing that they've been able to be around for so long, and they've gotten to a point where they're so good. And them, just like Coursera, are both really, really good at helping people learn if they don't want to have to go all the way to a big building and learn with a bunch of people.
Did you start
Khan
using
Academy?
Go ahead, Ted.
Can you, for those of our listeners who aren't super into that, can you explain more exactly what Khan Academy is? What do they have?
So what Khan Academy is think about taking education and turning it into a game. They have mastered gamification. Just when I was learning that second semester of AP statistics, it was honestly really fun to learn it. Like they have videos on there that are super interactive and just fun to watch. And the guy, his voice is just awesome. And that's the way they actually started out, just by posting YouTube math tutorials. And then it turned into making a website where then you have all the YouTube math tutorials and then you have a little question part after it. And then you answer the questions. And then you have a big unit test or something. And it keeps going. And you earn points for everything. And you get to earn like little rewards for the points. And they have really, really mastered the approach of gamification. And so the entire time that I was doing that, it didn't even really feel like I was trying to learn too much. It just kind of felt like, wow, this is really cool. I didn't know this was actually a thing. And they serve basically every single country in the world, and they translate into 40 languages. So they've done a lot. And if anything, they're only going to get bigger, just like Coursera.
Is it just math, or is it every
No, it's
subject
everything.
now?
Everything.
Thank you for joining us here at Beachside Tech Talk. We'll be back again after this commercial break. We appreciate you being here joining us at KOMY.
Been a long journey. It has. We had the idea for Attention Live. I ran it by you the fall of 2017, and it's gone through many different prototype product iterations.
NFTs were even a thing, not to mention NFT NYC.
It was, it was before CryptoKitties at least hit.
Yeah, they weren't using that term because we were throwing different terms around.
Remember, we did our event, headquarters, November. The future, what was that event called?
Future of blockchain.
That was, something like that. And I remember CryptoKitties just hit, and I was fascinated by this concept that you can create digital assets that if you brought two together, it would create a new one. I thought this is like a whole other way of seeing blockchain integration, smart contracts, cryptography with tangibility.
Yep.
Now, you are the chief of ethics at our company, Attention Live.
Yes, sir.
You know why I think it's important that Attention Live has a chief of ethics. With our ambition to have billions of people use our technology, why do you think it's important for us to have somebody that is leading ethics at our company for the sake of our partners and our
Well,
clients?
I think as Elon Musk has said that, you know, right now with AI, we are creating the world's most powerful tool ever. And we're creating the Gutenberg, we're creating the nuclear bomb that can turn itself on. Right. So I think ethics has always been important. I think now more than ever, it's so important that we embed right in the foundation of this, not just a desire to not do evil, but to do righteous things.
Yeah, I love that. When you think about, you have 4 children.
Yes, sir.
When you think about your kids' generation, what they're walking into, all the automation that's coming, I often say there's only a few things that humans will do in the future. They'll either promote things, they'll create things, they'll teach things. What is the future that our kids are walking into? And how might Attention Live, as a technology platform, a decentralized approach for content creators and their communities to flourish, how might that play into
Well,
the future
when I think
for our
about my
children?
kids, the things they're facing right now, you know, like the challenges facing them are really astronomical. I mean, we know children are facing higher degrees of mental illness than they've ever faced in history. And I think the way we interact with social media is not the driver, but it's a huge piece of that. And everything's changing. So the most important thing they need to learn is how to learn. And we want to empower them. Like the core issue we're solving is ownership of content. And with that becomes privacy. And I think we as adults, it's on us to create a better ecosystem to interact with each other, because the current system is so toxic.
Yeah.
And we are positioning Attention Live to be right at the core of that.
Finally, there's been a human experience for millennia of elders blessing people. We're going to be creating video content for, we're going to create hundreds of video interviews, hundreds of tokens for the speakers here. And you, Ted, are the elder of Attention Live. So why don't we end this by you just blessing the people that watch and listen to all this content?
Well, I bless everyone who's watching this content and every creator that's going to be creating this content both today and in the future using our tool. May this be a tool to enrich humanity, to solve the biggest challenges, and to make the world a better place.
High five.
Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk, episode number 42. My name is Ian Utile, here at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio, with my brother Dan, my son Malachi. We got Kristen producing. We got the whole team. I see him walking around and all sorts of meetings happening. This place is alive. It was built in 1947, I believe. It's been doing local radio for many generations. Ted, sometimes you come and join us. Right now, you're calling in from the Silicon Valley. And Nigel, you're with us for a couple weeks, but you, of course, are on the East Coast presently. We are now transitioning to our segment where we'll talk about the present day impact of Web3 upon education and apprenticeship. And so this is a segment to kind of talk about what's in the news today. Last week, I had mentioned something that I'll bring up again because it has to do with a friend of mine and 2 organizations that have really thrived. So Jeremy Almond, who founded Paystand, which does, I believe, $10 billion in transactions a year with 1 million customers. And then Digital Nest, which is started out of Watsonville. And I understand they got like a $30 million grant to educate people. They came together and they started a Bitcoin financial literacy program. And so the teens out of Watsonville just wrapped up their Bitcoin summer class. It was courtesy of both Paystand and Digital Nest. And it is the first ever crypto literacy program for local youth that empowered local students to check these things out. What is Bitcoin? How does decentralized finance work? What are these words? Web3, blockchain, hashgraph, crypto, DeFi, NFT. What is all this craziness? And, it allowed young people to investigate and learn for themselves. Any stories that have hit, even if it's not local, there's lots of exciting things happening around education right now for both teachers and students across the Web3 world. Verified credentials and certificates and degrees. The list goes on and on. But anything stand out to the four of you that you want to bring up before I share some other news stories that I had found?
It's interesting that you bring up Payspan, and I didn't get to bring this up on our last episode, but I saw that they are poised to share in the bounty of like $20 billion coming from Europe because of the European stablecoin, EURC, I believe it was called. And it's so interesting to see that, and timely, as you were mentioning Payspan, which I'd never heard of before. So it just goes to show you how just being involved in technology can have, adjacent benefits in how, these currencies and technologies actually affect our economy. Because as people transact, just like Visa or MasterCard or American Express type things, people are going to start transacting in crypto. And the companies that are in that position are going to capitalize on that particular thing. But as far as Web3 goes, I would like to see badges mean something. Like a diploma from Harvard or a college degree used to mean something. I think there's a lot of value in that branding. So whether it's a training course or a specific degree itself, I think that being able to show someone do something incredible that was part of that program, an apprenticeship or an educational course, I think it helps to foster further adoption and lift all ships.
What do you guys think? Dan, you want to jump in? Any thoughts on what Nigel just shared or what's happening right now in Web3 and education? Malachi, if you can also jump in as well.
Yeah, I think the apprenticeship program is where I'm all about. I think that we're moving into maybe like what Nigel had just touched on, badges or certificates. Seems like the 4-year college plan's kind of being antiquated a little bit, and things are moving so fast that companies want to see talents sort of sooner, I guess you'd say, or it's not really necessarily what you have learned, but show me how you've learned it. So I think that we're moving into a faster integration of education, apprenticeships, and learning. And I think that the companies that are going to hire these people as they come out of schooling programs or step out from their youth into their adolescence and their young adult age, that companies will be looking for people who can actually show a skill instead of show a degree. Yeah. So that's where I think we're at.
One thing that hit the news recently was about Stanford and Cal. So Stanford and Cal students recently teamed up, and it was a major blockchain summit that was at Berkeley on August 3rd. They brought in many people from the Ethereum and the Coinbase executive team to mentor young developers. So it was a student-led Web3, training. Apprenticeship training. In fact, starting tomorrow, Coinbase has their on-chain summit. Malachi and I and Riza, Ted, and many others on our team, and the team from CIK will be there. They have, 5-day extravaganza, so 3-day hackathon, and then a big kind of stage event Saturday. They got all sorts of fun things they have planned. And that, again, is another chance where it's like, hey, let's get together, a few hundred people for a small summit for 5 days. Let's make sure we can collaborate, work together, build new technology. And, one of the things that's going to come up is how is this technology that Coinbase has built? Coinbase built a very competitive blockchain wallet that's competing with the likes of MetaMask, and Phantom. They've built a wonderful layer 2 blockchain on the Ethereum protocol. So it's kind of taken the place of what Polygon had a couple of years back. So they have great technology they've built, and they're doing major things. And now they're investing all this energy, time, and money into training people there in San Francisco starting tomorrow. You can learn more about that at onchainsummit.io. Malachi, are you excited to go to the On-Chain Summit?
I mean, it's awesome that there's tech things happening. I think that's going to be a great thing. But the main thing that I'm excited about is the education and apprenticeship part for me, to be honest. I think that as cool as it's going to be to see that this stuff is happening so rapidly in the tech space, I'm more excited that I'm going to get to learn so much from you guys. I'm going to get to go and actually hear the way that you guys communicate with these people, the way that you guys have your demeanor on stage, the way that you guys are interacting with people. And it's definitely important to say, I mean, you guys have maintained these relationships for so long, and I want to be able to also learn how to maintain those important relationships. And so, if anything, I'm just excited I'm going to get to learn and get to become better at doing these things.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Okay, so now I'm going to go a little spicy, maybe.
Ooh,
so Malachi, do you have all your questions lined up for these fine folks at Coinbase? Do you have your 9 AIs going, looking up questions to,
do you want me to say the answer that Nigel wants to hear, or the answer that you wouldn't expect? No, I have not prepared questions yet. But if you want me to, I shall.
Well, I would love for you to do that and come back and share what the responses were, because I feel like you're in a great position to get some real answers.
Yeah, get some live journalism going.
100%. So can we count on you?
What kind of questions would you want me to ask?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, like what should Malachi ask when he has access to all of these heavy hitters from the Coinbase world?
Well, I think you should ask, but it's my opinion, the most unexpected, polarizing questions possible. Think questions that make them think. Because if the experts are coming there with canned answers for the masses, they're experts. They should give you some insights. You should walk away with some real value. Real things to come back to the show gratuitously to share with the audience. Don't you think?
How do I ask questions that are important and actually relevant without overstepping boundaries, though? Like, I wouldn't want to just directly ask a question like, well, why is the project you're working on actually important? Maybe I could, but I'm also a kid, and they're also someone who's worked on something for a while, and I wouldn't want to be rude in the way that I'm asking something. So how do I handle that?
I'm glad you asked that. I think you can use AI to curate the questions very specifically, but I would ask the questions that are going to be the most educational in public, but frame them in a way that offer you the opportunity to ask the deeper, maybe not so as much public-facing questions in private. So you get the benefit of both the answers that serve the public and community, but the opportunity to ask your deeper questions and really get some insights and understanding.
Okay. I mean, I do think that it's another important question to ask you. I'm just asking you questions on how I should ask questions, Nigel. But when so you're wanting me to be able to ask these people questions that are going to be genuinely educational. I'm going to authentically learn something that's actually of value. But what mindset should I have in trying to come up with these questions that I'm going to ask to these heavy hitters?
I think boundaries are important and helpful, but not when they stifle the greater good. Like you're in a unique position, and I feel like you should lean it into. This is my opinion. You can lean into that.
I want to
bring so much more value to everyone.
Yeah.
Because the questions you could likely ask and it be received better might not be the questions that Danny or me or your dad could ask or Ted could ask.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not.
My position as a young student who's Ian's son changes everything. It's completely different than if one of you guys were asking someone a question.
Well, your age, the whole demographic changes. I think the idea to have you ask a question in the things that affect and impact you and your community and people who look like you, live near you, your community is super important.
Yeah, culture is such a crazy thing that the fact that it's true, what we're saying right now, that the demographic that you are, the kind of person, that actually completely matters in the way that you're able to communicate with others. I mean, it's all based off of our past interactions in a way, the things that shape who we are. But just being a human is so interesting. I love being a human.
I'm going to go a little bit further and say, more concrete. I would approach it this way. I would go to AI and say something like this. I'm about to go to a conference. I'm 16. I'm about to go to a conference. I have, these opportunities, and I'm going to be around people who mean something, who are experts in the space. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but I do want to bring value to the area and community where I serve and state your area and everything else. What kind of questions do you suggest that I ask to accomplish this goal? And start there and keep going deeper until you find something that you're satisfied with, and absolutely put in there things that you're interested in. Don't instead of trying to curate what you think someone wants to hear or whatever the case may be, think about what you want. What would serve you? Think selfishly, because more than likely other people are thinking the same thing and either are not in a position to ask or are too afraid to ask because the audience doesn't give them that doesn't give them that support to do that comfort to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We had a question from somebody that's watching us online. And so anybody that's listening on the radio, that's a great way to ask us a question in real time live.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to answer it. You just go on to @IANUTILE on any of your favorite social media sites. And I'm broadcasting this live right now. So here's the question from Next X Dimensions. Can you, being Malachi, because anything that's being asked of us, I'm going to delegate to you, son. Can you ask Coinbase if they have any intentions of creating a create your own token feature? So Nigel, I got Nigel's funny bone on that one.
Yeah, I guess now since I'm the young kid who has more leeway with asking questions, everyone's like, here, go ask them this question.
So here's what I would say. Coinbase does have a create your own token feature, and it's called a base meme coin. So Coinbase just announced that all of the 1 million+ meme coins that were launched on the base, which is Coinbase's blockchain, are now going to be tradable on Coinbase. So Coinbase is going to go.
When is that going to happen?
It may have already happened because it was announced a bit ago. So Coinbase is going to go from having only the top couple hundred tokens, and at one point they had maybe thousands, but they would only work in certain regards. Now they're going to open it up for anybody. So if you want to create your own token, you can do so on Base. There's more than one way of doing it, so I'd encourage you to do deep research, maybe work with a team or a person that's already done it before. I'll go to one of Nigel's comments that he posted on YouTube. Great courses are streaming. Local libraries have incredible and comprehensive content. There's an unlimited way to get the content that you want to learn. So certainly you can learn how to launch your own token. Coinbase made it easy, and they'll list it. And so if you can build a community around a token, these tokens are not considered to be securities. They're considered to be collectibles. That is how David Sachs, the crypto AI czar, and the Trump administration have decided to list these tokens, these meme coins. They are collectibles, and you can launch 10,000, which would be closer to like an NFT collection, or you can launch something crazy like 777 billion, like what CIK launched on the base protocol. So lots of ability to do things, and you can even create tokens and then have utility. So maybe your tokens that you launch, they have utility for some reason. They give somebody licensing, commercial rights, non-commercial rights, access, membership, club, whatever it may be. You can decide what you want that to be. And there's unlimited ways of being creative around this. So Next X Dimensions, thank you for asking that question. Nigel, you want to jump in and add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say, if I could, the question that I would say for Malik I could ask that would help this particular situation would be, are there particular tools, contacts, or anything like that that get Coinbase directly that might help? Are there specific links, and not the generic stuff?
Wait, what do you mean by
somebody
that?
who's genuinely interested in creating a coin, what would be the process to go through? Because I think sometimes the generic kind of go to my FAQs, it's intuitive, figure it out, is not really enough for someone who's truly interested, trying to get somewhere and engaging with the company directly. I think sometimes you need a little more hand-holding. Not that you can always do that, but if you're getting asked directly, I think it's helpful to have those things locked and loaded so that you can give people the resources and help that they need at a little more granular level, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. How can I, taking a slight bit of a side tangent, when I am trying to figure out something, like say we're talking about this right now, I want to find out more about Coinbase, but it doesn't provide that in the FAQs. Am I able to figure out these answers by using something like AI? Do you think it will have the availability on the internet to find the answers, or is that just not going to suffice and I need to go to a place like this to get the real answers that are of value?
I'm so happy you asked that. Here's how I would do that very specifically. I would first search AI and ask the question directly, and I would organize the information you got, and then I would summarize it into some way of what you got out of that AI information. And I would do it rather extensively. Then I would go on LinkedIn and I would find someone at the company, as high as you can get, and I would say, hey, I was looking through your information. I'm very interested. I did this work. Link. Can you help me? Question mark. And wait for them to respond. Or not, but I would do it a few times on a few different platforms, because unlike social media influencers, CEOs and heads of departments aren't typically running around with 1 million followers. They're happy to get comments, especially from someone in your demographic. So you could try that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea and fair point. And it is definitely important to make sure that you don't just do it on LinkedIn, you don't just do it on X or whatever it is, but you actually try and ask the question everywhere, because then you have a better chance of them responding.
Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us here at Beachside Tech Talk. We're here at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. I'm very grateful to have this platform to share knowledge and share these conversations with all of you. We'll be back again very soon. Internet, thanks for joining us. I had played something of Ted and I at NFT NYC last year. I thought that was a fun conversation. I didn't introduce it because I didn't really have a lot of time to do so. I'm going to play something. I used to, not only did I help co-produce NFT NYC and Consensus at one point, and a lot of the content that was at CES around Web3, but I also did a lot of AI events. So one of the AI events, I think back in 2022, was called Voice AI Summit around Alexa, Google Assistant, et cetera. We had an event, and it was one of the first times I really pressed in about 3 years ago that it takes AI and Web3 to really get to the promised land. So hopefully you find this intriguing, even though it's a few years old.
And our next speaker to close us out today with some vision about how conversational AI fits into this new world of Web3 and metaverse. But I quickly got it before you come up. This guy showed up at one of our first installations of Voice and just started having conversations on our main stage, on our media stage, graced our main stage. He just has this presence. And since then, he's been at every one of our events. And last year, I was supposed to go out to CES. My mother-in-law had a heart issue and I couldn't leave town. He took over and just took the thing took over and produced the event for us and just nailed it out of the park. He's one of those kinds of people. He shows up for you. He interviews CEOs on a regular basis of so many companies. He must just be a wealth of knowledge. He's a delight to listen to. And he's just a really important part of our community. I'm so excited to bring up our final speaker, who's going to be on a one wheel, by the way. Let's give it up for Mr. Ian Utile, CEO and founder of Attention.live.
Thank you so much for being so kind of you. Who likes money? Anybody like money? Who wants $100? Anybody want $100? You guys are loaded. Nobody wants money? That's crazy. All right, Alan and Mark, let's both come up. Who's going to get the 100 between the two of you? This is the two. No, hold on. I saw Alan's hand up, and he got my attention, but now I feel bad, but I'm at peace with that. All right, Alan and Mark, come on over. I don't have much time. You guys have an amazing podcast, two voice devs, and together, this is $100. Friends, when it comes to conversational AI and Web3, what's happening is that this is two sides of something very valuable. We, at this event, we think that, hey, billions of people are going to use our technology, right? Like we're creating stuff for the masses. We're eliminating all that is with keyboards and with thumbs on glass. People can talk to technology can talk back. But what I would say to this industry is that the Web3, blockchain, crypto, NFT, metaverse industry, whatever you want to call it, we'll call it Web3. This industry believes the same. They believe that they've created the decentralized technology, that this is the future, that this is where things are going to happen, that they're going to build tech for the people, by the people, and empower everyone. And much like Alan and Mark are incredible on their own, when they come together, two voice devs, it's created such an educational and entertaining environment for all of us to learn from them. You see, Mark on his own or Alan on his own would be like the Web3 industry or the conversational AI industry. And you guys should go take that, so it'd still be worth $100. But obviously, I'm trying to make a point, right? I'm trying to make a point. We, like most people in the first world, think very highly of ourselves. We just have a tendency to just think that what we're working on is the most important thing. And this is also how the Web3 world thinks. So I want to talk to you about new opportunities with conversational AI and Web3. I haven't really been on the stage. We'll see how this goes. But I'd like to, there we go. This feels nice. This feels nice. I like to talk when I'm on a one wheel. It just puts me in a meditative state. Okay. New opportunities. NFT was the word of the year last year. DeFi and cryptocurrency has created many, many millionaires and some billionaires because they believed in this magic internet money. The metaverse, it's not just the rebels that's building Sandbox and Decentraland. Zuckerberg changed the whole trajectory of his company to build out Horizon with the Oculus Quest, and all the big institutions will do the same. Please don't be distracted by the media attention toward money, speculative investing, gambling, Alexa, Google Assistant, specific products, specific platforms. Let's just take a step back. We're in the first world. We have all the advantages that over 2/3 of the world do not have. You know, a third of the world makes less than $2 a day. A third of the world doesn't even have access to the internet. Anywhere in their town, they can't get to it. And yet we worry about things like, well, is that the right cream in my coffee? Now, I'm not here to pick on us. I'm part of us. But I will just say, are we thoughtful about where this technology really leads? Because the type of things that I'm thoughtful of when it comes to conversational AI and Web3, or just all things decentralized, is when cars no longer have traditional paper pink slips, and we no longer have to go to the DMV, how will conversational AI play a part in allowing people to transfer a car from their ownership to another person with just their voice? You see, it's not that blockchain does it alone and conversational AI does it alone. It's these two things coming together. We are building out software in the world today, in the first world, that will eventually affect every part of humanity. And it's conversation AI, it's voice AI, it's NLP, that's the interface. And then yes, it's blockchain in a sense that can be decentralized and provide speed and automation. How about titles for houses? Think about all the wasted time with real estate brokers, title agencies, all of the wasted resources of humans working on manual processes and slowing things down. What happens when it's as easy as speaking to an application that's tied to the blockchain that allows it to happen instantaneously? How about receipts? Every time you go to a hotel, every time you go to a restaurant, the ability for your receipt to have some sort of interaction on the blockchain that you can speak to and that you can say to your voice device, hey, I want to go to this restaurant. The restaurant already knows who you are because they have a tracking method. See, we're going into a world maybe with a little less privacy, but ideally a whole lot more security and a whole lot more trust. It's so cumbersome that we've learned to do 10 fingers on a keyboard, isn't it? Isn't it strange that we actually went backwards and went to 2 thumbs on class? Isn't that weird that we did that? And I know that we're still at the end of the trough of disillusionment in our industry. You know what? It was a few years ago when the hype was there. Enterprises are investing heavily. They're hiring like crazy. They're acquiring companies, starting up, and they're getting all the capital they need to go after it. Consumers are believing that Jarvis is real and they're going to be Iron Man soon. And then consumers get disappointed. The money doesn't flow quick enough for the enterprise. Enterprise pulls back, does layoffs, freezes hiring. Consumers stop using their devices as much. But you do realize that our great-grandkids will never, ever use a keyboard. Ever. And they likely will not use centralized technology owned by trillion-dollar institutions. It's going to be a different environment for technology moving forward. And this is what I wanted to deliver to you today, is the importance of this industry for the future of humanity. And the fact that this industry, in and of itself, is like a $500 bill. It has the promise that if it comes together with the other industry I'll call Web3, that as a whole, it's a very, very valuable thing. And so please think beyond yourself in terms of what you do in this industry and what is possible if you were to collaborate with others or at least ideate around what could be done. And then also be mindful that the majority of the world are suffering and just trying to survive. And they don't really care about how nice the hardware is or if the software works perfectly. What they're going to get is a ring or a watch or a pair of glasses. And it's going to be connected to Starlink or something of that nature. And they're only going to know voice interface. Every application they ever use is going to be their voice. And ideally, it's going to be centralized applications that they're using. This is the new opportunity for all of you. This is the new opportunity for those that you mentor. This is the new opportunity for your advisors, your board members, your investors, your interns, and your employees. It's not just this industry alone. And that's why I wrote a very valuable item before I gave it to Alan and Mark. I can talk on this topic indefinitely, but I like short talks. And so with that, my friends, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, Internet. I'm getting ready to get started again. Hope you enjoyed that little talk. As I mentioned, it was a few years ago, back before all of these Web3 AI things were thought to be used together. All right. Here we go, party people. Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk, episode number 42. Here we are. We're in the middle of our show. This is segment number 3. I'd like to talk about how AI is presently impacting different industries. Specifically, what we're focused on right now is AI's impact on all things education and apprenticeship. There's always so much news going on when it comes to AI's impact, because AI is basically permeating every single part of our local community and our global society. Here's a story that was just released by KQED News. California teams up with big tech to prep students for AI era. And so the government just announced a major AI and education partnership. This was just within the last week or so. And so, this is Google, Microsoft, IBM, Adobe, and a bunch of others that are basically bringing in AI training and certifications for internships into high schools and also into community colleges statewide. So California's pressing in. This is one example of it. Another one that is local, which is an article that was just released, California teachers embrace classroom AI. Local schools are testing out AI pilots. Teachers in Santa Cruz County are testing chatbot tutors to help with homework and using ChatGPT-4 to speed up grading. Now, of course, there's ChatGPT-5 that just came out. And early reports show that in previous tests, quicker feedback for students. And, of course, this is going to make a big impact on teachers. I predict that this year, boredom is going to fall off a cliff in schools. I believe that boredom is going to become a thing of the past when it comes to the way that students and teachers feel. Now, that may change once AI becomes boring and kind of, run of the mill. But until then, as long as AI is this new hot, thing that's kind of pushing teachers to think through things differently than before, pushing students to kind of think through like, hey, how do I learn more faster in less time? How do I, leverage this as a tool? When people start to really see these things as calculators, right? AI is like the modern calculator. And so there's a lot of changes. I know, Nigel, even over on the East Coast, you're going to have a bunch of different progressive changes coming up. So, what are you guys' thoughts on AI's impact today on all things apprenticeship, all things education? You guys seen anything in the news that's worth mentioning? You're leaning in, Nigel, so we're waiting for you. We assume that you got something to say.
Well, I'm scrolling my list to see if anything pops out that's worthy of me getting super exciting here, because I put a couple of things in. But nothing super pops out. So I'll just lean into this part of it. I think that when we look at this technology and its ability to actually teach us things and help us to move further, some of it's as simple as the same way we say to AI, don't lie to me and tell me just what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Could be, don't be boring. That's one, that could be a simple solve. But I also feel like there's a bigger accountability and a bigger responsibility we have. And as much as I like to, give Malachi a hard time or ask better questions, do more. I think there's a real responsibility we have to, one, teach others what we know, and to lean into giving feedback on things that could be better. Not for the sake of complaining, but making our voice heard so that we can actually foster improvement. A collective, collaborative, and cooperative approach to actual goal of improvement. So, for instance, all these programs being rolled out in school sounds great in the headlines, sounds great in the bullet points and sound bites. But what I really want to hear is them pulling a Malachi in and saying, be it private, because you don't want to embarrass anybody or cross boundaries like you mentioned, Malachi, but to say, listen, what do you really think about this since it's your demographic being affected?
I wouldn't want to be asking.
Give you the space to be honest, to feel comforted and supported, to not feel like you have to hold back. Because that's where I feel like we miss the opportunity. And it's not being disrespectful. It's being completely transparent and honest. Like, this doesn't work, and here's why. Here's what you could do better. In that kind of approach, in that kind of structure. So something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely, it was important how you said in the last segment that I should be thinking about myself when I'm trying to come up with these questions. I shouldn't just be asking questions that make them happy because they get to talk about their project. I should try and ask things that are of genuine value. Like, you know, Nigel, I actually did go onto AI and basically say what you said. And the thing is, it gave me all these niche questions. Like, oh, how do I break into the Coinbase space? It's like, I don't care about Coinbase. I'm here because there's actually important experts in the general tech field, in the general field of how to have relationships with people who will create things together. That kind of doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in my head. And I just want to say thank you for always telling me to ask questions. It's been so useful in me learning how to better approach being with people and communicating, because if I'm always trying to talk about myself and what I can do, then I'm not really gaining value. But asking questions from other people and unlocking the knowledge that they have really helps me to learn. So thank you, Nigel.
You're welcome, and I'm so glad you said that. And to drink the Kool-Aid myself, I'm only able to do that because this environment provides the nurturing for that to happen. So similarly, thank you for being so open and receptive to it, because it wouldn't be possible any other way.
Yeah, after 42 episodes, we've started to really get it down at this point, and we always enjoy these conversations now. So yay for us.
Yay for us. Well, hopefully it's yay for our audience that's listening.
Yes.
You know, obviously we want to have a great time ourselves, and we do. We also want to bring you some great info. So for those that are local, one of the Lookout is one of the local news media, branches here. They had an article this last week. It's titled "Santa Cruz County Teachers Confront AI's Growing Influence Over the Classroom." Now, if you want to read the whole article, it's about a 10-minute read, and you have to have a premium membership of Lookout. But from what I could tell, this article more or less is around the topic that says, should AI really be in the classroom? How do teachers feel about it? So one of the examples it gave was a history teacher would always give the same assignment every single year. Use historical documents to create a fake fictional film, like a script. And it always brought back like these really creative ideas, because there's no way to really cheat to do that. But now the student can basically just pop it into one of these AI tools, and all of a sudden it's very easy to get a comparable answer and then modify it. And now this teacher who used to be so excited to give this very challenging thing to their students, now it's like, well, this doesn't even work anymore. And so there's this pressure, just like when you think about all the truck drivers, truck drivers can make over $100,000 a year. I heard it's like as much as $150,000 a year. Obviously that's not a terrible job. You get to, basically sit down and drive around and do something that's a big, important part of society, make, arguably a good living. And that's something that can be desirable. Now there's all these autonomous cars, and let's have truck drivers drive Tesla trucks that drive themselves, and they'll just supervise it until we don't need truck drivers to supervise anymore, right? So you can see that the driver saying like, whoa, this is my gig. You don't get up in here. And the same thing is happening with teachers. Teachers like, hey, time out. No. I'm here to teach students. It's already hard enough as it is. I'm already suffering. I already don't make enough money. I already don't get the honor and respect that, my profession deserves. And now you want to come in here with AI chatbots and tutors and teachers. And, how far do you want to erode my ability to provide value to the students of our county? And when is this going to stop? Is this just going to go on for a few years? Like I'm a truck driver. Next thing you know, I was just supervising the AI teaching the students, and now I'm not really needed any longer. And so this is the reality of how a lot of different professions are already feeling. And of course, it's going to impact teachers in a big, big way. And you can see this. It's so true that it's an entire 10-minute read in the article published this week on Lookout. And my encouragement to teachers is you are not in control. You never were. Whether you work at a public school or a private school, you're not in charge. Even the principal is not in charge. It's very easy for the principal to get fired and turned over. You have to adapt to the way that things are going. And right now, California has made a decision that we're going 100% all out with AI. So it doesn't matter if you like it, that's what's happening. And so you have to learn how to adapt. So my encouragement is make it a fun adaptation. It's like if you lose your arm, but you can get a Bucky arm from the Marvel Avengers, like that would be adapting to what may be initially perceived as a loss. You might think to yourself, oh no, I lost my arm. My whole life I played, this sport. Now I can't do it anymore. But if the thing that was coming was the ability to have a bionic arm, and so you may have lost some of the rhythms of how you used to teach. But I would have to ask all the teachers out there that are listening, have you been a little bit bored teaching? Has it felt over the last decade a little bit mundane? Like a lot of it has to do with just checking off the boxes and, grading papers and, grading tests and going through the same book that you've gone through 5 or 25 times. And, now you have not just, a decade of students, but now you have decades. So now you're teaching the kids you used to teach. Now they're kids you're teaching. And don't you feel like the world is going by at 1 billion miles an hour? Don't you see how news and media and business and community and art has been completely radicalized by this technology? I would encourage you, just take a moment and ask yourself, how do you get the best out of the current situation? And fighting against it and complaining and being discouraged by it is certainly not going to serve you or your students. In my opinion, this is your chance, teachers, to really rise to the occasion and use these new tools and ignite passion for learning again in the classroom, ignite passion for teaching again for yourself. So these are the types of things I really would love to see happen. Monterey County Weekly just posted something about ag tech. And so this is Central Coast Agriculture. It's tapping AI for training. So Salinas Valley's new ag tech apprenticeship program. So you may want to check that out if you're in the agriculture world. It's pairing farm apprentices with AI-driven harvesting robots. So now you have new people on the farm and robots and working together. So this is giving field workers cutting edge skills to manage autonomous equipment and boost crop yields. And so I think we touched base on this last week a little bit, and it's continued to stay a relevant news story today because, we have this massive number of people that are involved in feeding the world. It's been said that our area here, Monterey County, Santa Cruz County, that we are the salad bowl of the world. No matter where I go, whether I was in Europe, Middle East, Asia, I would find Driscoll's berries. I would find Taylor's salads. And so we have a lot of agriculture here that is touching the whole world. We're feeding people. Now, if we can leverage some of these tools in new ways, and if we can train young people to have passion for agriculture, because now they're able to use robots and things of this nature and learn new skills, then, I'd love to see that take a life of its own. Welcome back, Ted. You went missing, at least on the video. Maybe you were still listening, so we're happy to have you back with us. You want to jump in? You may be on mute on Opal. I see your mouth moving.
I've been listening, just not talking and not being seen.
Well, that is rare. You're so tall and loud. So it's a rare moment when you're not seen or heard from. So Ted, what do you think
I
about
love what you were saying about
Yeah.
to teachers? First of all, you have to realize this is inevitable. California is pushing into this, but even if they weren't, even the states that are holding back, you're holding back a rising tide. You're never going to hold it back. AI is the future. Technology is the future. And, jump on board, make the most of it, and see all the opportunities. There's so many tools for educators. I mean, my daughter is a teacher, and she does not like AI. She's a little bit less upset at it now because things have progressed now. But like initially, she was fighting ChatGPT. She teaches English. Students would turn in things that had been written by ChatGPT, and she'd be so frustrated. Like, one, I know this is written by ChatGPT. You get an F on it. I hate to do that to you. But, even if you had written it yourself, it's so bad, it still would have gotten an F. And right there, you have the kernel of that's the real gem. Students need to learn and embrace teachers in the same way and not try to cheat, because cheating just comes around to bite you. But also, I think that administrators, teachers, society as a whole also need to not be antagonistic against teachers. Like, we have an opportunity to realize how valuable teachers are and press into them, get their input. Technologists who are developing this, press into the educators, listen to the challenges. Why do they not like it? But also tap into their knowledge of what they want and build these tools for them.
Yeah, I think it's really important to say, in my opinion, I don't see AI affecting teachers in the same way it would a farmhand or the truck drivers. The truck drivers, yeah, I mean, the cars have gotten really good at driving themselves. But teachers, they're interacting with humans. That's not as simple as a road that's straight and always going to stay the same. And maybe you have cars that do weird stuff, but basically the same the entire time. Teachers, no way. If you just throw AI right at it now, and all of a sudden it just became only teachers were AI, and there was just no human interaction at all, I don't think that would do well at all, because as great as AI has gotten, it needs human supervision. It needs it right now. And in my opinion, I think teachers should solely be excited, because all this means is that now you get to do what a teacher actually wants to do. You get to teach people. You get to do the human part of it. You get to be there as the human. And then the AI makes the curriculum so that it's not outdated, makes the curriculum so that it's actually interactive, makes the curriculum so that it's gamified. It just does everything better. And now you don't have to sit there checking boxes and grading papers in ways that are dumb and useless and unneeded for a teacher who has way better skills in helping people learn and understand. So if anything, it might seem like it's scary right now, which is completely fair. If I was a teacher, I'd probably be quite scared if all of a sudden papers that weren't written by my students started coming in, because that's scary. But the truth is that it doesn't need to be scary. And in my opinion, it's only exciting, because now you get to do what you actually want to do as a teacher. You get to teach instead of sitting there and grading things or any of the other repetitive tasks that don't matter as much.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Nigel? I see you up on the microphone. Love to hear you share.
I'm thinking about three things right now.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Acknowledgement, accountability, and sustainability/succession planning. I think Malachi has been doing a great job of demonstrating how to use AI and how to benefit from the hybrid use of it. And here's how it would apply to teachers. I'm a teacher. I'm concerned about AI. Kids seem bored. What can I do to make my class less boring? Because there's clearly teachers, regardless of subject matter, that the students love. They are excited to come to their classes. They're doing something that I'm not. They're using this technology, which I feel is cheating. But am I cheating myself by not similarly using this technology like I'm using it now? So to put it into context, Malachi has a lot of opportunity being in this room, having access to certain tools, but we're still having a discussion. He's still asking questions. How would I go about asking this question? Even though I have AI, I have humans in the room that lived more than me, that might have some context that might be helpful as input into the questions I ask. So how much of it is AI is bad or good versus us not just using the opportunity we have? And for administrators specifically, if you know something is coming, like AI is going to get better over time and is going to need to be adaptation, what exactly are you doing about that? Because at some point, what is allowed to happen that you saw coming has to fall back on you as just not being prepared or irresponsible, I would think. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like the teachers are actually feeling threatened. You know, Nigel, it's like they feel threatened because the artificial intelligence has all the data. It will and always will know more than the teacher does now.
Right.
It has the access to it. So from a teacher's point of view, I'm just sitting here listening a lot today, and I'm thinking, okay, if I was a teacher, I would feel sort of threatened. It wouldn't matter what type of curriculum that I had learned or what that I'm teaching. It's like the AI is just going to be able to process so much more compute power than my organic brain is going to. So how do I interact with the students to where I'm actually the teacher, to where I'm able to teach the kid? It seems to me like possibly, unfortunately, teachers need to be students again. In their own right, if they want to be a good teacher. These tools that are being used, whether the educational system wants to implement mandatory badging, thought process or however it might be, but the teachers seems to be that they need to learn at least a rudimentary level of the intelligence, because like Ted was saying with his daughter, she's a teacher and she's frustrated because the students asked to write an English paper and the student turns in an AI generated English paper that just is, undoubtedly it has to be an A grade. But the teacher realizes that this student does not, it doesn't fit their character. The teacher's sitting there saying, I can tell that, I know you didn't write that. I know you enough now. I see you every day. I talk to you every day, and I'm the one giving you a C- in this class, and you're turning out an A+ paper. So this isn't gonna, it's not gonna work. That's not your work. That's not your paperwork. And like you were saying, Ted, with your daughter, unfortunately, I have to give you the F grade. So that is a barrier that I don't think is really going to work out too well. And again, I'm thinking that the teachers are going to have to either in their own right educate themselves as best they can, or work out a curriculum that actually abandons some of the tool work, or maybe operate a hybrid class. Use the AI tools all you want, but then maybe on Friday we're all going to come back and we're going to unplug and we're going to have a summary over what we've learned during the week. So I know that it's staying cognitive inside your brain.
Well, we'll be back again in just a moment for our very last segment, talk about the future of all things Web3 and AI, how it's impacting education and apprenticeship. All right, Aaron. My wife, Reeves, has been a business English teacher for 20 plus years. She's taught CEOs across, I believe, 30 plus countries. And so I pulled a clip. It's a little 2-minute clip of her talking about how AI replaced her as a business English teacher almost 10 years ago, really, really early on. And this gives a real view of this topic and this concern from, my wife, kind of her first person experience. So hopefully give you a little insight yourself.
As we all know, AI actually started 1950, just to let you know, guys. And 2016, I was replaced. I was working for a Chinese company, and I was replaced by an AI teacher. How does it look like, right? AI teachers, the students are actually having class with an artificial intelligence teacher, and they're using my face, they're using my voice. This Chinese company, and in that company were over 2,000 teachers. And all their 2,000 teachers, they fired them because they replaced with AI. So AI is not only ChatGPT. All right. So I would like to let you know, guys, AI is so bad. What I mean by this, AI, A, apathy, I, ignorance. So if you don't know, if you're not gonna learn what AI is, then it's up to you guys. You are not going to learn. In Tagalog, napagulihan ka na. So learn what AI is, learn how to use it. So it's just like Google. Before the AI actually started, Google started with the AI AlphaGo. Who knows AlphaGo? All right, yeah. AlphaGo, that's actually the AI of Google. Why I know this? Because I started teaching online way back 1999 to 2000. There was no platform yet. So I was teaching English online. Nahalata yung age ko. I was teaching online English actually over VoIP. So sino yung nakakalam dito ng VoIP? All right. So over telephone. If you're connected, PLDT connected to internet, so that's how I actually taught students English. And then the first platform that I used for video class was Yahoo Messenger, then Skype. So that's how I started. All right. So AI, kaya alam ko kung ano yung AI. It's because it's not only about ChatGPT. All the students here. AI is really very wide, just like what Mr. Donald shared with us. So learn how to use it, and it's up to you guys. How are you going to use it in a most proper way? So yeah, that's all.
And the last moment I'm going to show you is a 25-second clip of me talking about the importance of encouraging one another, and then we'll dive back into our last segment.
That there's something significant that happens when a person or a people speak faith and life and goodness and a positive thing about someone's life. When you call the gold out in somebody's life, or you declare what could be in somebody's life, that there's something very significant about that.
PM.
Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk, episode number 42. Happy to be here with my son Malachi, my brother Dan, got Nigel, Ted. Ted is in and out. I think Ted said he had something he had to run to. That's nice about having a team. When you got a team of people that are all doing something together, we can all carry the weight if somebody needs to, go take care of anything. What I just showed the internet for all those on the radio, I kind of fill in the spots on the internet live stream that we do while the commercials play here locally. And I just shared a little 3-minute clip of my wife, Riza, who's been a business English teacher for over 20 years, primarily teaching CEOs English so they can be in meetings and feel like they can do so without a translator. And in 2016, she was replaced by AI at the Chinese company she worked for. So, here's somebody that 9 years ago was impacted by this very, very early on. And so there's no doubt there's a reason for people to be concerned that are teachers. Before we transition into the future casting a vision of what could be around all things education and apprenticeship, I do want to mention this one thing. There was a recent national survey that came out. It turns out 60% of U.S. teachers are intending to use AI in their classrooms this year. However, only 2 states out of 50 have put anything in place in terms of guidelines and ethics. So if California and Oregon, you have to look it up yourself.
California and Oregon.
So if you are a teacher and you are using AI, there is no framework by what is considered to be ethical use of AI as a teacher. So on one hand, it's like, man, you have an opportunity to like really be creative, do fun, wild things. There's no rules. Like you make up your own rules. They say that the best way to tell if somebody would do well as a self-regulated person without a government telling them what to do is if they put the shopping cart back, which is the funniest thing. If you put your shopping cart back, that means you could probably, be a good member of society without anybody telling you what to do. But if you leave it out for someone else to handle, maybe that's a sign that you are not necessarily going to take care of everything else. How you do one thing is how you do everything is the mentality there. So for teachers right now, assuming that you're a good, ethical, wonderful, student-loving teacher, you have less to be concerned about. Even though there are regulations in California here locally, they're just starting in terms of trying to get some framework together. And if you're really excited about this as a teacher, maybe you could be part of the solution. You can go to government, California Congress people or California senators or even your local, city council and say, hey, here's what we should do and here's why we should do it. And I'm a teacher and I know these things and you got to listen to me and my peers and here's the direction we should go. So we're going to transition now into the future. Nigel, anything on your mind when you think about where we're going as a society in this regard?
So much on my mind right now based on what you just said. The first one is this. I feel like as humans, we need to do a better job of not speaking in absolutes. We are unique beings. There's no one size fits all. There's one size fits you. It's what's right for you. Right and wrong and what's right for you ultimately and the consequences that come with that. So I think that's helpful. So refrain from doing that. The other thing is, and more specifically, what I would like to see happen in the future is more of a leaning into, and I'm going to use teachers as the example here, them training their own human AI on the students. Because I would question how many teachers are actively surveying their students about their performance. Because there's a lot of talk about peers. That's why I'm always so fascinated with Malachi in the room to ask him questions. Because us talking amongst ourselves, Ian, Ted, Danny, myself, like we're a bunch, we lived a bunch of life. But to Malachi's point, what he said earlier, I'm the one in school. But how much people are actually asking him what's going on? How good is AI working? Ask the students. And I will even go further by applying this to a model that's not so popular anymore because it's effective. 360 reviews in corporations. When employees start rating their managers actively, managers start doing better. Yeah. They start behaving better. They start exercising some act right in far more cases than not. Because now you don't have that imbalance of power. You got a bunch of teachers talking, dictating directives towards students. Students are like, well, I guess this is what we got. You can protest, but when the students are actively participating and it becomes more collaborative, the results, I think, will be better.
No doubt.
That's my thoughts.
That sounds cool. I just was reading that by next year, by July, end of next year, school year, 2026, that I guess our Governor Newsom has signed an Assembly Bill number 3216, known as the Phone Free School Act. So they are going to mandate, and it's going to be put on to the position to where each district is going to be able to implement as they see fit. So there's going to be like shut-off times during the day that kids are going to have to put down their phones or their tablets.
Oh, really?
And it's going to be negated from like there'll be an age difference too. Like for instance, elementary schools, K through 6, it's going to be pretty censored. It's like, you're young, you're so young, put all that stuff away. Here's the drawer. We're going to, all your phones, put them all in the drawer, and we're not, there's no using them or whatever. They can be on for like an emergency call from your parents or whatever that case may be, but it's going to be, get rid of the phone and tablet in the school in elementary, and then they'll start cutting it back as the child gets older, I guess. But it's interesting to know that maybe so much chaos and noise has gotten into the schoolroom that kids are able to sit there with their phones under their lap or whatever they may be, and maybe just disengaging from the actual classwork that's going on in the class. So I think that's interesting, and it's interesting how it's not going to be like you say, Nigel. There is not a one size fits all to any of this, and they're going to have to foster a gradual implementation that's specified for those grades. And it makes a lot of sense to me because of just social being such a flooding system, and it takes up so much of our attention, things happening and so fast on a screen. I can see how a younger generation just is might need to put that down and do a learning process a little bit more hands-on. So I thought that was interesting.
I mean, Malachi, what do you think about regulation for young people in terms of their device usage?
Well, real quick too, before I mean, it makes sense too. It's not like put them away, but it'd be like the teacher, right now we're doing this and this such a thing. Let's see if we can have our attention on each other and the chalkboard and me as your teacher, and put those things away, and then we'll open them back up. Okay, we got past this part of the lesson. Now it's open up. Everybody gets to grab their tablets or whatever they have, and hybrid, and dive into it that way. But the thing where you're able to, where the student is able to have the device in their hand, I think that's where it's going to be from high school all the way down, because they're not an adult, and they're not able to mandate, what they feel is use case for them. So yeah, by the end of next year, it's a law already there. They got the number on it. So they're giving us a year to, kind of work out the bugs. Everybody going to freaking out. And I can see, especially, adolescents, that age from 12 to, 14 or 15, when you're starting to sprout, and, you're really starting to come into your own, even mentally, and your body and everything, as you feel that you're growing up. And then to take some of the stuff away from, that type of an age of person is going to be, it's navigational waters where, have to work that out as we go.
So this is where I actually have really important information. Me being a student, I went to the public school. I was at public high school, where we had a phone caddy in the back of the room, where you have to, every time you go into a classroom, some of the teachers didn't care and it was just there. But every time you go into the classroom, you walk over, you put your phone in your little slot. That was like a thing already. And it wasn't for every single teacher.
Did you have to turn it off?
Yeah. I mean, there were a few times that I forgot and someone called me and it just rang.
With that there, if you have to turn off your phone, what's the point in having it? And the teacher, the parent's going to come in and go, we just had an emergency situation, a religious something came down, a family something came down, and what are you doing turning off the phone when I had an emergency with my child that I had to get a hold of, something like that. So,
well, the thing is, kids are going to be kids. We're high schoolers. And so they're always complaining about, this, that. But you still get to have your phones on campus, and it's fine. You don't really need them in class. But plenty of kids would bring a second phone. Like, they went to the fullest extent. I'm not even joking when I say this. I knew plenty of kids who would bring a second phone to put in that.
Grown-ups don't even do this.
I know. It was insane. But it was quite funny because they'd get so inventive and use so much brain power to try and find sneaky ways to keep using their phone. Like it was just really interesting to see that happen. But I do think that it's a general good idea because, I mean, we're high schoolers and dang, we get distracted so easily. I saw it firsthand. Like, just you let them have their phone and they have no idea what's going on. And I'm the culprit of this too. I've done it plenty of times where in the classes where they let you have your phone, I'm going to choose a music and then I see something and I'm like, oh, what's that? And then I go on a little side tangent on accident. And the thing is, you kind of have to regulate it at this point. And I do see what you're saying, Danny, about the emergencies. Like, that's completely fair.
It's just one thing, but it makes sense. It makes sense. It totally makes sense.
In a school, there's some rights that are taken away. Like, you're not allowed to bring a gun onto some schools. That's just one. I might be wrong about that. It might be more specific in the way that that works. But there's different things that they take away your general rights because you're on a school campus. And I don't know if I fully believe that's the way it should be or if I think that some of it should be changed. But I think phones, because high schoolers have been so bad with using phones in class, we've kind of lost that privilege. And now that's why there's starting to be repercussions because it's taking away from the learning environment. But the real problem here is the culture. It's a culture of everyone wants to use phones and we don't want to have to do school, and school is bad and education is bad and bad, bad, bad. It's like, why? Why do we hate learning? Like I've said earlier, it's an amazing thing that we get to have. It's a delicacy to get to have an education environment. Whether it's good or bad the way it is now, it's amazing that we get to learn. And the real problem is trying to get people to learn that no, you're getting to learn. You don't have to learn. Get to, not have to. And once that problem is tackled and the mindset changes from how can we take away this because this thing is bad to why don't we just try and show these students why learning is good? And that's why AI is going to be such an amazing thing because it's going to let teachers in a way gamify their classrooms. It's going to let students feel like this is fun. It's going to make school more like Khan Academy and Coursera. And so overall, I'm excited to see where this goes. I would say if you're a student, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, don't run away from it. Just try and embrace it in the most humble and best way you can. Because if you're a student and you're like, oh, nice, this lets me cheat. Okay, I'm going to just throw all my essays into AI. Then you're just ruining yourself because now anything that you could learn, you're not learning. You might as well at that point just ask AI how you write something and then it can tell you because that is way more valuable than you posting something your teacher and getting a grade that doesn't matter. So it's more of a mindset change that I believe needs to happen.
I got a quick side question. 1 to 10, how much do you think it's distraction on the part of the student and not enough engaging material on the part of the teacher? So let me give a specific example to kind of help make it more concrete. If you're just kind of lecturing versus organize yourself into groups and work on a project, and we're going to talk about it in intervals that make participation more required. You have to be active. You have to be present. How much of that, 1 to 10, how much of it is the student and how much of it is the teacher, do you think, Malachi?
Well, right now, the way the environment has worked is teachers are kind of just pushing things that are outdated and not necessarily useful to learn. Like in history classes, the stuff that I'm learning is like, okay, cool, that happened. And it's not that learning about history isn't good. Learning about history is awesome. That's so cool to see what humans have done in the past. But the way that it's thought of now is we need to give them an assignment. So let's find out something that can be an assignment. Okay, here, they can make a poster. Fine, they can write that out. And yeah, that might be fun to some students, but the way the mindset is taken, it's more of we have to find something for them to do than this is what they should be learning because this is actually valuable information. Let's find out how to help them learn this. And I think that's another thing that when that starts to be thought of differently, it's much easier to educate students.
It's always interesting to me when rules are brought down from a older generation to a younger generation. So when a school or teachers make rules for the students, I do always feel a sense of tension personally around that. I always had a really hard time if I felt like people were telling me that I needed to do something or not do something because I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I had a spiritual leader that I looked up to, and he just kept insisting I had to quit smoking cigarettes. Like he was just on me. You have to quit smoking cigarettes. And he made it like a moral, integrous, like spiritual thing, less than just as bad for my lungs. And I would say to him, okay, you quit drinking coffee. Because I didn't like coffee. I didn't care about coffee. I liked smoking. But that dude drank coffee all day long. And I just thought it was so weird that he was so aggressive trying to tell me that I shouldn't smoke, yet there he is using his drug of choice. And so sometimes it does feel to me like some of the rules that are placed upon Malachi and our younger boys, Kenny being 12, Nathan being, 8, Nathan's entering 3rd grade, and Kenny's entering 7th. And it's like there's a sense for me that schools and teachers should be very, very thoughtful about what they tell students not to do. Now, obviously, don't say cruel things to other people. Well, that's for everybody. Don't be violent. That's for everybody. I'd love to see teachers never touch their phones in classrooms themselves if the students aren't allowed to. So these are one of the things that like I'm just personally sensitive to. I wonder what things are going to be like in the future. I wonder, how are we going to adapt apprenticeships, education, being students, being teachers in the future when everyone's connected? When we all wear glasses, and on our glasses is a little tiny computer screen and a microphone and a speaker, and our glasses are speaking to us, and we're speaking to our glasses, and we're whispering things to our glasses, and only they can hear it, and it's doing things for us. And every time you want to learn something, you ask a question, and boom, it's right there in front of your eye. Like, how is that going to impact our desire to learn? How are we going to change up learning? I mean, we've been doing learning the same way for so long. It's like one person stands and monologues 10 to 40 or 400 people, and they all sit and listen to this brilliant person. And it's like, when are we going to get to a dialogue? When are we going to get to the students having truly independent, unique curriculum built for them? We are going to come up against time. So Malachi, you are the student amongst us. I'd always like to think of myself as a student, but you're actively in school. When you think about entering your junior year and then your senior year and going into your college years, and you predict what's going to be your experience in 6 months or in 2+ years, what are you most excited about? What makes you feel enthusiastic about learning, whether it's learning in the classroom, at Cabrillo College with the college courses, or it's learning independently with Oasis Independent Studies, or it's learning by you just doing your own research as you've been mastering Spanish and other things? What are you most excited about learning as we end our time together today?
Thank you for asking that question, Dad. I highly appreciate that. I am so excited because right now with the current situation I have, I feel completely satisfied. And that's something that is like insane that I am satisfied. And the reason why is because I get to learn what I want to learn. Yeah, I have the base curriculum that I'm doing. And in a way, I don't know if that's ever going to go away because there's certain things that the school systems will just want students to learn. But I'm just excited that I get to choose what I want to learn by having these amazing tools like AI and by having these amazing things like YouTube. I see myself in class just learning what I want. So there.
We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us.